Hi, I'm Jen Gumbel, here with one of the attorneys who does lots of real estate in the office, Alec Osland. And we hear this term a lot, or at least see the acronym, but what is for sale by owner? What does that mean? What does that entail? Can you explain that?
Of course, it's a great question. So for sale by owner means essentially that there is no realtor involved. So most of the times when someone's selling any property, they're going through a realtor. And the realtor, it's their job to essentially find a buyer and coordinate with the seller and put the closing together, and really they're bringing the process along and bringing everything to a closing. But when it's for sale by owner, essentially that means that somehow the buyer and seller stumbled upon each other and they're willing to work together, and they just need someone to essentially put the documents together on their behalf.
So they have this kind of verbal agreement. What's the next step?
So the next step is going to be getting a purchase agreement put together. So when there's for sale by owner, the buyer and seller, essentially they come together on most of the terms. Maybe there's things they don't know and they've never even thought of. But once they have the majority of those terms put together, they come to us and we'll put together a purchase agreement. And the purchase agreement is going to have all of those terms, maybe some of those terms that I mentioned that they've never thought about. So we'll kick it back to them, say, what do you guys think about this and what's the agreement? And then essentially once everyone is on the same page, then we send it to the buyer and seller, and then the buyer and seller will go ahead and sign it.
Because there's lots of things that if you don't buy and sell a lot of property, you might not be aware of are things that should be addressed in that agreement, right?
Exactly, yes. No, that is exactly it. So something along the lines of maybe septic compliance, or what's going to happen with the real estate taxes, are just things that normally people never even think of when selling property.
All right, so after that agreement is signed, what happens next?
So what happens next is we start preparing for closing. And so what the part of closing is we'll do a title exam. And so the title exam is essentially making sure that we have the right people selling the property. And then also we want to find out if there's anything impacting the property that needs a payoff, such as like a mortgage, or if there's any easements or anything on the property. Then essentially once the title work is done, then we will coordinate with a lender if we need to get any mortgage documents ready. But then essentially we're going to go ahead and prepare for closing, and then we'll bring the parties in for closing and have all the documents executed. And then after the documents have been signed, we'll make sure that everything's good to go, and then we'll disperse the funds to the seller, and we'll go ahead and record the documents that convey the property to the new owner.
All right. So if you're selling a home and you have an interested buyer, or if you found a house or some property that you want to buy and you've been talking to the seller and you think you kind of have a general idea of what to do, what's the next step?
So the next step's really easy. All you have to do is give our office a phone call, and you'll be able to talk with someone, and then we can go ahead and email you the for sale by owner form, and just kind of gives us some information, and then we'll reach out with the next steps and go from there.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much, Alec.
Of course, thank you.